Greetings to the final day. It is time to crown a champion for DreamHack Winter's Grand Prix of 2016. Today will conclude a weekend of festivities as we have battled out over 200 participants and $27,000 on the line. My name is Frodan, and I am joined on this side of the tavern by our lovely friends Lothar and Lorinda, two of the finest looking gentlemen in the building. How you guys doing?
Better now you said that. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Lothar?
Makes my day, man.
Of course. I always want to make sure to toss out some compliments to start the day off right. And, of course, we have the highest compliments of the players that will be playing today. They have, pretty much gone through a huge battlefield, dragging themselves to umpteen rounds of Swiss and round of 16 brackets to get to this point. What are some of the main storylines that stuck out to you this weekend, Lothar?
I think the main story for me is actually the Fallen.
Yes.
Because he's the brother of the DreamHack Valencia champion, and he is doing here, exceptionally well. And also what is very important, he plays decks that are not in the metagame. He plays the Control Shaman, he plays a Rena Warlock, so that's actually a cool story.
Yeah, I think his own words where he plays decks that he understands well so that he's not at a disadvantage trying to keep up.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see people actually kill the meta with their own variations of decks. The Fallen has completely gone off the rails. We were talking about how Stan Sivka and Pakrovak, it was cool that they brought Rena Warlock just as a strategy. They still brought kind of normal stuff with Dragon Warrior and a few other things too. But Rena Warlock was the really cool thing for their lineup. But yet this guy chose to go completely left field and bring Control Shaman along with it, which speaks to me a lot. I love it. I personally kind of hope he wins the tournament now.
Yep. You said something about the Dragon Warrior, like it's in the metagame. But to be honest, people thought before the Cinnamon that the Dragon Warrior is actually a bad deck. And
Okay.
almost no one brought it, but I know that Sivka brought it because Life Coach told him it's a good deck. And
That's really
the only
interesting.
reason.
Well, specifically, they made a bet
Right.
that it was not a good deck versus it was. Life Coach said it was a good deck, and now Sivka is, he did pretty well this tournament so far because of it. And speaking of which, why don't we just go ahead and pull up some of that info for you guys so that we can see what's going to happen in the round of 8. This was the round of 16 yesterday on the far left. As you can see, you need Ness, Wegyus, who defeated Stan Sivka and Ray Naz. You can see that he does hang with some of the best, and Super JJ. All these guys definitely are picking it up in some of their results. On the bottom half of the bracket, we have, in my opinion, the player to watch out for, the Fallen Loyan from Team Complexity, Maddie and Mitsuhide. And you know what? Definitely a mix of players who have been established already, a mix of players who are still on the come up, and then we have some guys who are just kind of doing their own thing, like the Fallen. The Fallen, this is, I believe, not his only time that he's been able to make a top 8 at some of these events at DreamHack before, so it's really pleasant to see him be able to have that consistency results over years.
Yeah, that's correct, and I'm looking also forward to the Black Horse of the tournament, so Maddie, we don't know
Right, yeah.
actually anything about
Exactly, I agree. Even though I can't find
He's a
Matty,
true
I'm
dark
afraid,
horse.
so sorry, Maddie, for that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Googling the word Matty comes up with a lot of hits.
All right.
Oddly enough.
I mean, Lorinda the researcher strikes again. So, yeah, even being elusive enough that Lorinda couldn't find stats on Maddie. But of course, with every round of Swiss, this is the whole point of it.
Right.
We have undiscovered gems in the Swiss system. Look no further than Terrence Miller, for example, from America. His rise to popularity was largely because he was able to do so well at the beginning of the year. And we can continue to have those stories too. And it also affirms beliefs that we had for a long time. I think people just thought Super JJ was a promising player for several months, and then finally he had breakout performance after breakout performance thanks to things like DreamHack, which has solidified him as one of the highest winning percentage players, along with Frozen,
Terrence himself.
yeah, Terrence himself, Deathlore, some of these guys who are Swiss round monsters. All right, so let's go ahead and break down the first match of the day. We have You Need, this is his lineup in front of you right now. His Shaman was banned, not really that surprising, hailing from, of course, the French-based or French-speaking community. Any thoughts on his play this weekend, or just him as a player?
Well, he had a swift victory in the top 16 with his Zoo. The thing that was standing out was the fact that he was playing a single
Horse Rider.
horse rider, exactly. And that was something that did actually win his first game yesterday, and put a lot of pressure on his opponent. And I think it's a really good tech because people have to remember that he plays that one off in his deck and change the way they are playing because they need to adapt in a mirror match, an example. But at the same time, you can't really play around it because it's only a one off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that himself. He's like, I play one so that sometimes it's really good. And if they want to play badly because of it, cool.
Yeah, exactly. And in top 16, when people actually know the deck list, that's a huge factor.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's really hard to play around a one of something because it shouldn't be in your hand, but the times that it is in your hand, it's amazing.
And we saw that yesterday when just a 2 HP minion was just straight out killed, and it was 2-1 trade, which in a Zoom mirror is something that you basically thrive upon and win the matchup.
Yeah, it enabled him to just destroy a tempo mage as well, who had gone all in on just getting a mana worm to stick, and it's like, no, Horse Rider, end of game. It's like, okay, 1-0 or whatever, 2-0, something like that at the time. And Ness, of course, still seems to go under the radar, despite the fact he is also just a Swiss god. He's like the UK version of JJ, where I think he's gone through like 4 Swisses in a row. Not so much at DreamHacks, but at other events he's been doing really well in Swisses. And of course he is a major winner now as well. So Ness is definitely somebody to watch out for. On paper it's the same lineup, but his warrior is different and his druid is different.
How come?
So his druid is the token druid. And his warrior is the Cthulhu, or whichever one. One's playing Cthulhu, one's playing N'Zoth. I forget which way around they are, but we'll know after the mulligan straight away. But
Certainly. I think it's really important to note that Token Druid was also similar to Dragon Warrior, where it fell off the radar of the metagame for quite some time. And a large reason why is because they expect Zoo to be so prominent in the tournament, so they specifically bring that version of Druid because they feel like it still keeps the potency of Druid, but it has a better chance against Zoo. I can't really fault them on that logic.
Well, it's way more explosive, right? With a Innervate and Violet Teacher, you can actually get back on the board, which is something that Druid lacks. And Reynard even had a different idea. He brought an Illidan.
Right, yeah, just to make more minions to sort of flood the board with.
Yeah, I actually used my account to play in this tournament, and
how much did you disenchant to make the Illidan?
He had to actually craft
Rip Lothar's Arcane Dust. All right, game number 1's about to begin. So Ness versus Uni. We're going to start things off with a good old warrior versus warrior. Enjoy, boys.
So it is Ness with the Cthulhu, and it is Uni with the N'Zoth warrior.
Well, this is basically like a mirror match, but it's not.
Right.
Well, what's the difference? Because the difference is that at some point N'Zoth builds a board that is it has enough sustain against a single Cartoon, right? But if Cartoon has a Doomcaller, that also changes the dynamic of this mirror match.
But it's like a mirror match. So one of the things that happens is they circle a little bit to see who gets on board, who gets a Justicar first, that sort of thing. And at some point, one of them will think, I'm behind. I'm going to hit the go button, they will start drawing cards.
Yeah.
So not like a normal warrior where they just fatigue each other. At some point, one of these guys will start drawing a lot of cards.
A situation that can happen is that a key card in this matchup will be Sylvanas from both sides.
Right.
Because if the Cartoon has a Doomcaller, you want to steal the Cartoon right after it's being played.
Yep.
So you avoid getting blasted twice by it, and in case when you play against an N'Zoth, you want to steal a crucial
like a Sylvanas,
minion, like a Sylvanas of your opponent, or a Kern, an example, just to have better chances after N'Zoth is getting played.
Yeah, because you usually brawl away the first N'Zoth, but it leaves, as you can see, these Twilight Summoners, these Cairns, it still leaves quite a mess. So like you just said, if you can steal that Cairn, the mess is a lot less that needs cleaning up, and so you should be okay. Yeah.
So, opening hand is actually really beneficial for Ness. He has the early game, which is very important because you want to draw those early game minions in the beginning of the game when the impact of those is actually way bigger than in the later stages of the game. Because of course, they just might die to the weapons, to the Fury War Axe, but you don't exactly keep the weapon like every single time, right?
And also, it messes up your curve. If you draw them on turn 8 and you want to start playing your Twin Emperor or something like that, and you haven't got to 10 yet, so getting these guys down early. And this pressure won't win the game. He won't kill Uni now, but he will get enough pressure on that maybe Uni has to burn a valuable resource that he wanted to use for something bigger later. Like maybe he can force an execute out or something like that.
I mean, put small amount of pressure, but if you count an early Cartoon, it actually can be a lethal.
Yeah, especially occasionally if you get like an Emperor into a Bran or something like that, and you just Cthulhu for 28 on turn 10. That's sometimes hard to stop.
Yeah, that can happen for sure. Now it's kind of more awkward for Ness. He needs to plan ahead now. What does he want to do? The brawl needs to be kept for the first
N'Zoth at the end.
overextension from Unit, but the Cartoon chosen. It's not really. Sorry, not Cartoon chosen, but Disciple of Cartoon. Is not really a great play this turn because you don't want to target the 1/1 because it gives the 5/5 minion actually a charge unless you want to kill it the same.
Right,
same
that's
turn,
what he's going to do.
But that requires the execute.
Right.
Unless you want to swing with the weapon.
Yeah, you don't mind taking 5, I think, because the amount of pressure N'Zoth can put on isn't that big. Like, Cairn's really hard to deal with, but it is only 4 a turn, so I think he's okay doing this. But that, of course, is his weapon gone as well now. On the other side of that, he has managed to keep the board, so these 2/1s might just get through, and I think there are less whirlwind effects now in the N'Zoth as well.
And if you saw a ghoul as well. Oh my god, did you see that?
Wow.
That is sick.
One thing that's better than 2 Twilight Summoners is 3 Twilight Summoners.
That is actually a really big bummer for Ness.
Yeah, he's not impressed with that roll, you can see it.
Not only it trades with a minion already on board, but it spawns a 5/5. Then it's getting resurrected by the Cartoon, which is already in hand. That means that he can actually just play N'Zoth on turn 9.
Yeah, I mean, that's given him 22 points of stats. 11 attack, 11 health from the 2/5/5s, the 1/1. That's a lot of stats. You don't usually play the stats game like that, but hey, we don't mind that for 5 mana.
So, but if you want to win with N'Zoth,
Right.
I'm guessing you need N'Zoth playing the version with the Panda to get it twice, so it should be way less greedy. But if you want to win this matchup, you need a sticky board, right?
Right.
But the thing is, your opponent plays 2 brawls.
Right.
So how do you want to stick those minions to the board when it kind of gets tricky, right?
I think that Uni's going to have to make a decision come turn 9 whether he wants to maybe just shut his eyes and go for Brawl, depending on the board state. A lot of Control Warrior matchups are quite formulaic. You can learn all the different parts. But this one, you have to be a bit more creative and find a way sometimes to get in front. I think the N'Zoth Warrior is heavily not favoured in this match. And so if Unid gets a chance to possibly sneak a win, then he will. But 35 health from Ness already probably just won't get the kill with the N'Zoth.
Probably not.
I mean, we can see it won't stick because of double brawl as well.
But there's still some singular threats, like a Ragnar's in the deck. I'm guessing that he's playing the Rag still. It's a good minion in the metagame.
Interesting, by the way, we didn't mention this, but they both queued Warrior. We've seen so many 3-0s with Zoo in this event. I think both of them were trying to catch the Zoo at the start.
Yeah, probably, because both of those Warriors have a good matchup against
Right,
I mean, good matchup is not like a 70-30.
Sure, but it's a way of beating Zoo, so I've got a feeling they'd rather save it for the counter queue. They were like, everyone's queuing Zoo first, let's go. But they've both done the same second guessing and ended up with a Warrior mirror. And Ness now just rumbling along to 47 health. And Uni's going to have to make the first move here. We may see him start to draw cards in a minute. I think he may feel behind, or he's got a handful of stuff, so maybe he'll be okay for a while.
And he's not using the shield block this turn. That means he doesn't want to go into fatigue, right?
Right, but now he might change his mind with this Justicar pickup. He's got a while, he's got a handful of stuff. Ness only has 4 cards. I think Unid will try to make those cards come out of Ness's hand. Maybe try and get him down to 2 or 3 cards and then see how he feels at that point.
2 brawls already available for Ness. Well, at some point you need to play the N'Zoth, and I'm guessing that Ness will try to find a way of dealing with board states without playing the brawl.
Right. Yeah, the sub-game that's going on for this part of the game is Unid's trying to work out what those cards are, and Ness is trying not to use them, but Ness is going to need to pick up things he can do, because if he doesn't pick up things he can do, he's going to have to start doing nothing, and that will tip his hand off. Unid will work out what is going on.
Yep. So this is really awkward. The Cartoon is, I think, 12-12. There was 2 Beckoners of Evil, 1 Disciple of Cartoon.
That sounds right. I think that was all.
No Cartoons chosen, and the Worshippers.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's 12-12. And Ness has decided he does need to at least draw one card here just to get something. Picks up the Bran, so one of his game plans now could be to just stick the Bran after an Emperor.
Well, he's actually building up with the tank up way more armor than the damage he's taking.
Right.
So he's okay with
he's
that.
He's fine for now. He's one card ahead in fatigue, but that's not a problem either.
Ooh, that's not a good draw. Huh. So
No.
I'm guessing that's a tank up, pass. You just want to see what's happening. As we said before, he is with double brawls in hand.
Yeah, tank up pass seems absolutely fine right now. And something I saw Impact do in this matchup once when he thought he was getting behind as the Cthulhu is he just waited and drew a load of cards in one turn. So he saved the Acolyte, he saved his Whirlwind, and then just drew a whole bunch of cards in one turn. And then the guy playing the N'Zoth was like, oh, I can't respond to this. He wasn't ready. But at the moment, Ness seems to be in a spot here. Because if he does just pass, then Uni's got a pretty good read on the hand.
That's true. Card draw and removals. Basically, that's it.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like Uni is fine with... even when Ness is building up armor, Uni is fine with that. So he knows he has an advantage after the fatigue. Even with that amount of armor, he has just more threats.
Each card in fatigue is worth, say, 10 health as well. Like you say, he has more threats as that N'Zoth, although obviously Ness's whole game plan revolves around getting 2 or 3 Cthuns.
This is very interesting though. And I think in this turn, Unit might actually use the Revenge just to get his opponent one more card draw. If he plans to go to fatigue, but he doesn't go for it, so that's not the plan. Now, this is even more interesting. He just played Sylvanas onto the board just like that, without without making the play that we talked about in the beginning, so stealing a Cthulhu before the Doomcaller, but I'm not sure, like we don't know if there's even a Doomcaller in the deck. If there's no Doomcaller, then I see it, Sylvanas are sitting the board and that's fine.
Yeah, these players do know the list, but we haven't seen them at the moment, so we did see people playing Tinkmaster, I assume that's not in this deck as well, so you could throw away the Sylvanas because you know that the Tinkmaster would happen at times. I'm going to assume there is a Doomcaller for the purposes of this. We've seen the Bran, we've seen everything else. It would make sense that there's a Doomcaller.
Right, and now Ness has actually, there's only one option basically. Shield Slam into the Emperor seems like a good answer to what's happening, and he can build the board with 2 really chunky minions that will require at least 1 execute, maybe even 2.
Yeah, we've talked about Ness's brawls, but he's trying to do the same thing. It's just a little bit harder for him. He's trying to get rid of Unit's brawls in case he gets a run of minions in a row that he can just start throwing down. Cthulhu's Chosen's are coming at some point. They're 4/2s, they're hard to deal with. Maybe get a couple of those to stick, as that's an important win there for Ness, that brawl.
The thing is, Unit won't even have value from his brawls. So when he can get a value from a brawl, he will just immediately play it. And I think that was a perfect example of that, because the brawl is the board state doesn't really scream brawl me, right? There's only 2 4/6 and you have a 2/6, you have a Revenge in hand and a weapon. You can still deal with both of those minions by just using a Revenge and execute, right?
Right.
Which in normal matchups would have been the case, but in this situation when you just know that your brawl will probably just kill 1 minion and you don't really care about that your 2/6, it's just better to get the immediate value of it right now than just bank on, a better board in the future when you know you're facing a Cthulhu deck.
Yeah, that's definitely important, and just getting that small advantage. Again, he's got to get the most out of all of these cards while he's in front, because Ness will start coming back into this. And this is what's taking these players so long at the moment. It's not just thinking about what do I do this turn. Each individual turn is kind of easy, but they're thinking, how do I win this game in 6 turns time? How's this game going to unfold? How do I actually win the long game, the very long game? Who's going to fatigue? And Ness is just going at it. So maybe he doesn't have the Doomcaller, or maybe he thinks that this just isn't going to get stolen because the Sylvanas has gone. Yeah,
well, the Sylvanas was played, so he can just play the Cthulhu now.
Right.
See what's happening. If he has Doomcaller, I think that this is a proper play. Because it puts a pressure on board. Unit has to respond to it, so he can't play his own Zoff right now. And, well, actually he can, because he will have 1 taunt minion. Not that bad. But in general, I agree with that.
And he must have the Doomcaller, because otherwise he would have played Bran into the Twin Emperors.
Yes.
Because why are you saving this Bran? Cthulhu's gone, the Emperors have gone. The only other thing is the 20 armor, which you don't really care about. So you're saving it for the Doomcaller, I should imagine.
And now is the case of evaluating if you want to use the Shield Slam to kill a 1-1 and deal basically 12 damage to your opponent's face.
Right.
Or you just keep it as a removal for the future turns. And basically Ness didn't see a huge threat on the board yet. I mean, there was a Karen.
Right, but...
There was a Sylvanas. But you still didn't see Nzov being played on board. And all of those will get back. Alongside this Tauren that will just die now.
Yep.
A second Tauren that was already played.
2 Faceless at least.
Yes.
Thanks to the portal.
That's... I think that's only the 6 Death Rattle minions that we saw this game. So that's basically the lineup that...
That's all 7 cards will be that 7 cards. That's a pretty good lineup of cards. So when that gets brawled, he gets 2 Tauren refills, a second Cairn, and 2 5/5s.
Yeah, he gets the Bane and the 2/5/5.
We might see Ness brawl twice in the same turn when that happens.
Sick. What do you think about this then? Would you play the Shield Slam and just go to the face for 12 damage?
I think I save it. I think I do what Ness is doing here. I think I just do the 1, and you don't mind if your Cthulhu dies. All dangers are gone from the second Sylvanas then.
Alright, let's see what's gonna happen. That's 3rd infested tournament. I don't even know if you play that. Because you know that if you play more... Wow, he goes for only 4 minions from the Nzov?
Right, I think he's going to...
I would feel like...
Yeah, he's going to run these in first, surely, right?
Yeah.
I think he just caught himself there. It's like, oh, what am I doing? I've had so many minions.
Okay, so he kept the Barnes.
Okay.
And...
That might have filled up the Sylvanas. That might have taken that away.
Exactly. Wow, okay.
Yeah, and if that was going to be his play, and this means there's obviously, that's the Doomcaller play around, but if that was going to be his play, he really needed to run that Barnes in because he gave himself a 1 in 6 chance that the Sylvanas wouldn't appear.
That's true, but a 1 in 6 is a better chance than a 50-50 if you don't kill the Barnes, right?
Right.
And wait, he had a weapon. He could always attack with the weapon into the
Okay, sure.
plane. So that was a 100% chance to get Sylvanas. And if he wouldn't get the Sylvanas, that would have been disastrous.
Interesting.
Right?
He's got it, and it's worked for him, and now Ness is going to have to double brawl, but not only that, he's not going to win with a bunch of Cthulhu's
I don't think he actually has a win condition now.
He could still win with fatigue. He has got the tank up, and Unid hasn't got the tank up, so he could still win the fatigue game. Wow.
True, but look at that. The Cairn survived, and that's actually a big problem for Ness. Even if he uses the second brawl right now, there will still be at least 1 or maybe 2 minions on the board.
Right.
It might be a 2-2 and a 4-5, which is fine, but it might be a 5-5 and a 4-5.
Which is not so fine, because even though we sort of see how big his health total is, if you get hit for 9 twice, that really swings the game, especially if Ness is a card or 2 ahead in fatigue as well.
It's the best outcome for Ness, but still, it's a mess.
It's a mess for Ness.
Yes. 6 damage coming into the face right now, and, well, it is awkward. What do you do now? You have 1 Shield Slam, a Disciple of Khatun, which can deal with the 2-2, fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it can deal with quite a bit later as well with the brand, so it can deal with 4/4s later. So he may choose to hold it, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's just going to get something on the board and try and get some damage down because he has a handful of minions. Maybe in the next couple of turns we'll see him develop this board and just try and force a little bit of damage through to try and make up for the fact that we think he's behind in fatigue. Oops.
Not the case anymore.
That was like the quickest turn of Hearthstone in this whole game.
True. Unid still has access to 1 execute or 2. 1. He used the second one already. And there's the Doomcaller! Unfortunate for Ness.
Yeah, they won't be calling much Doom apart from the fact it is a big minion still. It is still a chunky thing that needs removing, but we can see that Unid has saved that revenge earlier on when he brawled away the 2 minions that you highlighted. And so now he's got all these ways of just dealing with this. He's got the Ghoul anyway now as well. So it doesn't even need to dip into his brawl, which he will save in case something crazy happens.
True. And now it's in Ness still has the 6/6 and a Cartoon's Chosen, which is problematic for Unid. So that's actually not a bad turn.
Yeah, and Unid down to his last 2 cards, so Ness will be optimistic that he can do something here. His plan will be to force out Brawl, obviously. But he may have no choice. He may just have to go all in at some point and try and get a really good board. But he seems to be playing very patiently.
So now every single minion on board how big is it doesn't really matter. It might be even a 1-1. It's super important. Super important because they add the pressure in fatigue race.
Right.
So keeping any minion on board actually stacks up. And that's a Gromash huge pickup in the future.
Yeah, but he's just gonna put, like you were saying, a minion on the board now is important. He's just gonna say, yeah,
Okay.
he's been keeping.
Oh, you're right. What I'm talking about. There's already 2 bros gone. So yes, that's definitely a good move.
Yeah, Grom's so difficult to deal with, and even if he gets dealt with a weapon or whatever, it takes 10, probably 20 here. And then we can see it's going to be more than that.
Not a good position.
And Ness is down to only 1 more card in his library as well, so Ness probably not going to find a way out of this one.
In his library, I see you played Magic in your time.
Shh, that's a game that doesn't exist.
So 20 armor is getting to Ness. Pile of, I don't know, shields?
Pile
Plates?
of shields.
I mean, if you have so much armor, that's actually like that can't be 1 armor, right? It has to be like
Yeah, I can't think of a collective
plates.
word for shields, but pile seems good. I can imagine piling up.
He builds a wall, you know,
Sure.
shield wall.
Shield wall, new warrior card. Let's do it.
I'm sure there's actually a skill in World of Warcraft.
By the way, we're talking in Talkstone terms right now because unless Ness has got something that we haven't seen here, this game is over and Ness will lose it.
I have no time for games.
There's no way he can win this. Oh wait.
Well,
Wait.
the Acolyte will come down later, but Ness has saved the revenge for that, so it won't come down until Ness has used his cards. Maybe there is just nothing left for Unid if Ness has been counting correctly.
If his last card is not a minion,
I think his last card is the 3rd, not even joking, Twilight Summoner.
it might be. It might be.
Taste my blade.
Unid is upset. I'm not sure if he is actually certain what is the last card. You know?
Yeah, Ness will probably know. He's been in the game. We saw the Summoner come from the portal. We saw one be played. And let's see if I'm right. I'm a caster. I'm not likely to be right at this point, but maybe I am.
Yep. But I would really like to see what is the last card. And
Right.
he just didn't allow. You need to draw it.
That was actually closer than we gave it credit for in the end because the decks were getting so thin there. Important window, winning with the N'Zoth against the Cthulhu when both players have Zoo in their lineups. Now one guy has a counter and one guy doesn't.
Definitely correct. And Ness will be queuing up his druid,
Right.
a token druid, which makes a huge difference. Because I think for Unid is actually better when you face a token druid. The way that the N'Zoth warrior plays, he's prepared to play against Zoo.
Right.
And the way that the druid and the Zoo are playing is very similar.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot more, like you say, a lot more early game, a lot more board presence, and the warrior geared up to deal with board presence. Although we think he only has 1 revenge and 1 ravaging ghoul.
Yes.
So
That's correct.
a little tiny bit less than you would want against this, but look at Ness's hand. He's going to definitely put it to the test here. This is going to go pretty well for him.
He's just a paw of the wild. A second innervate. Okay. So there are multiple options now. What do you have to think about? First thing that comes to mind, you can just jam it right now
Right.
and play Nourish. But I don't think that's a correct
No, I think you'd
decision.
like to use the innovate so that you never miss a big turn. You can have 2 big turns for the price of 1 over the next few turns with these innovates. So he'll miss 1 turn, but now he might do something on turn 2.
Okay, so he has access to the Violet Teacher on turn 2. He can follow it up with a coin and a Raven Idol to spawn
Right.
2 1/1s. And that's actually a very good situation for him. Only thing that is uncomfortable for him is the fact that it's turn 3 for Unid. And that means there might be a ghoul,
Yeah.
which doesn't kill the Violet Teacher, which is still fine. But it might be also a bash that kills the Violet Teacher.
Right, but then the 2 1/1s live at least, and then you can
Yeah.
innovate into Nourish on turn 3 and
He
get
might-
some pain coming.
He might also get the Paw of the Wild right now from this.
Right,
from
and he's
this
got the other
Raven Idol.
innovate. That would be amazing if he could pull that out.
No, unfortunately. Starfire, Naturalize, and Feral Rage. That is not any of the. None of those is actually a good option here.
Starfire might be okay later because he can just stick it in the face and then draw something else
Yeah,
to do.
it's
Try and draw
fine.
towards his Onyxia late game, maybe.
It kills a Twilight Summoner Death Rattle.
Right? Yeah.
So that's not
it's a
bad.
good number. You're right.
You can just smash Hero Power into the 1/1 and then Starfire. So I think the Starfire is actually the best option here.
Yeah, and he's going to have the mana for that really soon as well.
Fortunate for you need, there will be none of those lessons more because the teacher is dead.
No more lessons. That's pretty dark.
Sorry.
So
Oh,
innovate,
nice.
nourish seems like the plan here.
Yeah, but it's an awkward situation. Just lose basically the nourish. Because I think in this matchup you actually need to go for the card draw.
Right.
What?
Yeah, especially if you've had a good start like this, it's definitely an option. The deck's also a little bit lighter than others, but this is a really difficult decision.
Let's see what is the option here. He is drawing cards.
Right. And he
There's-
goes into the power of the wild.
There is the power of the wild, but there's no second teacher to behold. And this makes it kind of more awkward.
And he has the Wrath to answer this with, so don't see any other reason to do anything else this turn, maybe?
Well, let's think about turn 5. Turn 5, the most natural play will be the Azure Drake, but also what you can do in an upcoming turn is Living Roots into Power of the Wild.
Yep.
So if you do that, you will have 2 mana left. 2 mana left will be hero power, but what you can also plan is to use the Living Roots this turn, so you can squeeze in a Savage Roar in the upcoming turn with the power of the wild, which gives you access to a huge burst, which will most likely not happen in this game anyway, because I had access to 2 brawls.
Right.
I would actually think about it because your opponent only plays 1 Revenge and 1 Ghoul,
Yep.
and he didn't use any of those yet against the 2 1/1s, which might indicate that he doesn't have it in his hand.
Right, because you don't want to always necessarily Savage Roar for lethal. If you can just get 4 or 5 minions down and Savage Roar for 15, that's job done. You'll find a way to finish them off a lot of the time from there. So yeah, Master of Evolution coming off the portal, which Yeti's fine, right?
Yeah, I definitely find a 5 mana Yeti that gives you 4 armor.
Yeah, I'd
Sweet.
play that card.
I mean, it would have been 100 times better to get another Twilight Summoner, like the
yeah, like
game
last
before,
game,
right?
which was
that was kind
insane.
of sick.
And nearly ended up costing him when he kept the Barnes alive.
Yeah,
It gave him a chance to lose the game.
to be honest, maybe I missed something in that game because I would really like to rewind that and
Right.
see if he had the attack available with his weapon that
Yeah,
turn.
we may have missed something. It's possible. for
Because
sure.
if the attack was available back then, I think that was a misplay because he could have actually missed the Sylvanas and lose the game because of that.
Yeah, he definitely could. Just looking here, the Nazal Drake is natural, but Ness, having drawn the Onyxia and having drawn the Wild Growth, is deciding to skip the Azure Drake turn, save it from spell damage, save it for the card draw later. He doesn't need cards right now, he's got plenty of stuff he can do. So he's just going to build up that mana and start getting towards trying to get this board brawled away or whatever, and then just drop the Onyxia and say, have you got the other one?
I don't think it will actually be. There's a chance it will be brought because there's already an answer to 2 minions on board. There's a
Right.
weapon, there's the Master of Evolution. 2 2/2s is not really that big of a problem when you know that your opponent doesn't have an access to a burst combo like All Force of Nature Savage Roar.
Ah, don't do that to me.
PTSD.
I blocked that out, man.
Yeah. So basically, I think this turn is trade with 2, play Tauren, armor up, pass. And it feels
Yeah.
like, oh,
Oh.
it actually will be brawl. That is a very interesting play. I don't know. I don't feel like I don't like this, to be honest.
I don't either.
Well, he won, so okay, it's fine.
yeah, he knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, if he knows that this is what's gonna happen, then this is a great play. But other than that, I don't really like that option, to be honest.
It's interesting.
Wait, did he just play Starfire on his own face? That would
The
have been
animation
hilarious.
just scared you to death there. It's like Lothar just jumped back in his seat, guys, because he thought, and I thought the same, but I had the prime view of Lothar jumping back. It looked like the animation was just shooting his own face. Thankfully, he'd realised that was a bad play.
Yeah, it's not E-Cup.
Wow.
Memorable plays.
So,
By the way, the same bird that is just flying around here now.
there's 2
rolls.
today. Yeah, there's 2.
Maybe just 4.
I think they probably just love their Hearthstone here in Sweden.
Or maybe Hoy just brought his one.
Right, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, so moving swiftly back to the game in progress.
Ness has a full hand, and that full hand is actually so much mana, he will not utilize those not in the even upcoming 3 turns.
Right, although one of the cards is the Emperor, although reducing the cost of expensive cards, you still have expensive cards,
Yep.
but it may help him to sneak in 2 a turn rather than 1. Let's see what comes off this. It's another Tauren.
That's a good outcome.
And just to point out, Uni did pick up the N'Zoth in that previous turn, so he's getting close to his own push. There's no brawl in the Druid, obviously, so
Yep.
N'Zoth a lot better in this matchup if it does get played with decent number of minions. But we haven't seen Cairn or Sylvanas yet, though.
No Cairn, no Sylvanas, no Twilight Summoner, and what else is there?
That's about it. Just the Taurens, I think.
Huh. Okay. Well,
Yeah, there's the Master of Evolution, which this time around doesn't come back to life. So Ness has got to work out how much he can take here and whether it's just worth putting the Emperor down, or does he want to be greedy and try and get it to stick. He also has Fandral, which obviously gives him a lot more options. He'll be trying to get this Onyxia to stick to the board with the Savage Roar. That's his win.
well, he would like to play the Onyxia, as you said, so it sticks to the board. So after the second brawl, this is his
Yeah.
fail-safe button. After the opponent just plays everything that deals with board state, right? But at the same time, he needs to be prepared that his opponent might actually be the aggressor. He's already started to be aggressive,
He
right?
may want to Raven Idol. If he's going to Raven Idol, he has to do it quickly so he can make the decision.
I don't think you're even either here when you have Fandral already in the hand.
Sure, I agree. Just because there's that Emperor, I think that's what he was thinking about. Sorry to have cut you off there. I just think that if you want to get an expensive card, now's the time to do it from Raven Idol. But you're right, he's going to Fandral Raven Idol and be greedy, which I like.
Okay. There's the Twilight Summoner. Perfect. This is a really good draw for him.
Yep. And Ravaging Ghoul is going to be important soon. It's going to save either the Revenge or something for the Onyxia as well. Again, deck lists are revealed, so these guys will know what's in each other's hands to some extent.
And this is a very interesting a telegraphic play. There was a weapon available that can swing this turn from your need, and that means you can kill the Emperor just by taking 5 damage. He's at a way, with a high health of high
Right.
amount of health, so
Yep.
that swing is not hurting him at all. But he chose to trade 2 of his Death Rattle minions into the Emperor instead, and that telegraphs that he has N'Zoth already in hand.
Yeah, Ness can definitely pick up on that. Sometimes casters go a little bit deep down that rabbit hole of what can he tell, but Ness can definitely work out from that play, like you say. Let's see if he picks up on it. Let's see how he chooses to play around it.
I don't think there's actually a way to play around it.
That's the thing, right? Sometimes you telegraph something, and if it doesn't matter, then
Not
sure.
not with this hand. You have no access to swipe and spell power. Sorry, spell damage.
So let's see what he gets as his bonus card for being greedy last turn. Again, which I liked. Oh, he can take like the second Savage or Wisps, or maybe even Force of Nature to play around the 1/1.
That was actually a
removal.
lot of options.
Yeah, all 3 of those were viable options for sure. But if Fandral sticks, then the Wisps is insane.
No way it's gonna stick. Not 1 million
Hey.
percent not gonna stick. This is one of the minions that
Sure.
if it's not gonna get killed, you're gonna regret it really fast.
But you have to make them kill it. So, and like you say, it's going to die. We know this.
The only reason why Fandral can live is when the game is really close and your opponent, like, you need to raise, but your opponent doesn't have cards in his hand, so he needs to top deck something that has an effect with Fandral. I can see that happening, but other than that, it needs to die immediately.
Yeah, and there it goes. And Ness has a load of interesting options with this. Even the Frostwolf Warlord could get quite big. Sylvanas coming down can give him some protection. Onyxia will be tempting, but he hasn't seen either Revenge or the Ghoul. He's seen a Brawl, though. That Brawl that was used quite early.
It was. He still didn't see the Ghoul, the Revenge, the second Brawl. And he still has 1 Violet Teacher left in his deck.
And the power of the Wild for those Wisps would be really nice, because he doesn't know that the Revenge and the Ghoul are in hand, of course. So he'll be trying to make those into 2/2s, which is much harder to deal with.
Yeah. There's a swipe being drawn, which deals 5 damage.
Yeah.
I have no time for games.
But here we go, Sylvanas to the board. And is that something that makes you need uncomfortable?
As long as you have a 10-5 on the board, I guess it does. But he can get rid of this whole board if he wants to. He can trade the Grom into the 4/4, put his Faceless into Sylvanas, and then just deal with the 1 health guys that are left over. same deal.
Thing is, like, in this matchup, in this deck, you don't really care about Grommash if he gets some value, and he got it last turn.
Yeah, he's a removal spell.
It's not basically a win condition anymore.
Right.
You don't bank on a Taskmaster Grommash, bam, 12 to the face, right?
Right, yeah, those days are moved on from that a little bit, as you say. And
The game has
now-
evolved, and it will devolve with next expansion.
Wow, yeah, it sure will. We're making those minions smaller and smaller.
I actually like the card, you know?
It's a fun card.
I don't
You
think it's
think
actually
it's
a fun card. I think it's actually a viable card, but not in any existing Shaman deck.
But maybe in a deck that comes up in the future. Control Shaman.
I really like the card.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, so we pick up the Power of the Wild, so...
That's the second Power of the Wild, and now Onyxia's for 8. So I can actually go Onyxia Power of the Wild as well. But you don't want to do that, because Onyxia will come after the Brawl. So,
Yeah.
actually, okay, there are two options. You just saw the Ghoul, so you can just jam Onyxia right now, and your favorite button is the Wisp of the Old Gods,
Yeah.
and Power of the Wild, which
Which
I
you
like.
just win with. If the Onyxia's not dealt with, you win with the
Yeah,
Wisps
yeah,
next
yeah.
turn as the buff.
Exactly, so I like the Onyxia right now. Really like that.
This also stops you need from playing N'Zoth for another turn.
Oh look, there's a second Ghoul.
Wow.
So that was the
I'm
last card.
sure there was only one goal. So
That was
must have
the
been
last card. That was the last card in this previous match. What are you checking?
I was checking who had one goal, but my notes must be incorrect. Anyway,
Second Wrath, 2 swipes in the hand. So the way he wants to play now changed a lot. He saw a second Ghoul that made a swipe basically of the board.
that also explains why Ness has been a bit more careful than we thought. If there's two,
It's awkward. Now it's awkward because there's still one Brawl and there's still the Revenge.
sure.
And the Wisps are not looking that great now anymore.
Well, maybe. There's still going to be 2/2s, and there's Savage Roar in hand. So you've got to deal with a board of 2/2s, or you lose.
Hey, did he go for the Mind Keeper this time? Huh. I thought he would go for the Wrath maybe instead. His first instinct was to play Swipe to just clean the board, but Swipe is needed to kill a 5/5 minion basically in this in the future turns, so it can deal with a Twilight Summoner, with the Hero Power or a Sylvanas. But he went for the Swipe. So
And all the time we're commentating on what's been happening, what's planning ahead. Not only is this N'Zoth pretty powerful, looking a bit dangerous, especially straight after those double swipes, he's on 39 health as well, so he's even out of range of some of the burst.
that's a powerful board. It doesn't look like it like when you divide the minions by 1. It's not
Right.
really that impactful, but when you just think about it, that's 12 damage.
Yeah, he's effectively played like the equivalent of a Soul of the Forest. If you get Soul of the Forest on 5 minions, you usually win. And this is a warrior playing Soul of the Forest, doesn't seem very fair somehow.
Yeah, N'Zoth is a really cool minion. I like the flavor of the card, to be honest. Like it's like so insane when you think about it.
I think all of the old gods, with the exception of the one we don't talk about very often,
Yep.
have played a part, and that's really good. The same as the 4 legendaries from League of Explorers also played their part in the meta.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's good when the key legendaries do play a part in the game, even if they occasionally get nerfed.
The next one will be Patches.
Sure,
I mean, I love the card.
it's a beautiful card.
I feel
it's
like
hilarious.
this will be something I will use a lot in the future meta game. And that's it. Ness knows there are no more answers. That whatever he can do is not enough to
Right.
deal with that board. 2 swipes are gone, and 2 Raven Idols are gone. So no more potential Starfires, no more potential. Even if he does Starfire, that doesn't really change much.
Right, and now he's in a real spot because he hasn't managed to get rid of that warrior, and his zoo is coming up. So this is we've seen Zoo do a lot of 3-0s, but this is hard for the zoo to get through.
It's a hunting season, and Unid seems to be the hunter, but he's playing the warrior.
Yeah, and if you go hunting in the zoo, it's a lot easier than going hunting somewhere else.
Yep. Wabbit season.
Duck season.
Where's the tree?
Wow. Okay, so
Probably the younger people will not know what we are talking about. But
there's younger people here than me?
Ah.
Wow. Okay, so you need actually willing to take his time there. Didn't coin out the War Axe. Feels that he's going to be able to deal with all this stuff, even with the extra development that Ness is going to get. But it is taking more than 3 extra, because obviously you take the extra hit from the other minion as well that you can't deal with. So giving us something like 5 health there to save this coin and this development.
well, yeah. I mean, Yuri has a good opening hand, but at the same time, Ness's hand is actually insane.
Yeah. Most 2 hands are, as we've seen this week.
Wow! A third Flame Imp!
And this is a lot of damage, and Uni not coining out on turn 1 has allowed Ness to get this board together. He's getting rid of most of it, but Ness is just going to keep the pain coming.
The bash is really crucial here. It doesn't look like it's a crucial card, but when it actually was revealed in the preview, I said this is like a new shield bearer, you know? It's like that
Right.
like not a flashy card, but actually gives you access to so much time in the game.
Very much so. Look at the difference it's made here. Are we going to Soulfire Face here, or are we going to play the Librarian?
I would say we want to play the Librarian and
discard the Villager, if you're lucky?
yeah, I mean the Soulfire is not really that impactful in this matchup, because what does it kill?
It's
Usually,
just, yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Go.
It's just because he's got so low on health so quickly that Ness may just go for all in right now.
Yeah. He discarded the possibility.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, now he'll definitely play this though.
Sweet. There was a chance he will actually draw a golem, right? And that would have been insane.
That would actually been insane.
It doesn't look good for Unit, but there's an option. He can play the Ghoul and kill the 1/1, or he can just play the Tauren. Bank on the fact that his opponent won't have a Soulfire.
Yep.
Because that's the only... I think that's one of the few minions that can be afraid of a Soulfire. How much damage is that? 5, 6, 7...
He can also draw a card from the Librarian if he wants to, maybe try and get another minion, or maybe try and get a Golem.
I think keeping the Librarian alive is way more valuable than just trading now, because you still have access to life tap, 24 life, and after a brawl, getting an additional card is actually more valuable than before, because you will not overextend before there's a brawl.
And then you just repopulate your board with the stuff that was there before, and then there's no brawl anymore.
Well, let's see what's the turn. I mean, the thing that Ness is thinking about here is, do I want to cycle that Knife Juggler, or do I want to play it before the Soulfire? That's the thing. The other thing that can happen is also the tap first, because there might be a chance. Here we go. Oh, that's not a good decision. I mean, Sotel was standing here like, yeah, cheering for the tap, and then it happened, and it was like the actual worst outcome that can happen.
And the moral of the story is don't trust Sotel.
Can happen. Can happen.
So now he is drawing that other card, and he's just going to get some damage through to the face.
That's so sad, because now when you tapped first, you got the Doom Guard. You know you need to tap, and you can't use the Soulfire anymore. So you needed to, sorry, not to tap, but you trade the Librarian, so you get an additional card. I was really unlucky.
It definitely was. It might be interesting to see what happens here, though. There are options that involve just Soulfiring face and closing your eyes to get really close to lethal, but Uni's tidying up way too much of the stuff for that to be an issue. The Brawl staying in hand is huge. It means that Ness has got to tap, repopulate, then get brawled, then do it all again.
Execute used for 1 damage. We have seen that made often when the execute was for 1 mana. Holy moly.
So tempting now just to Soulfire this Ghoul and play your Doom Guard if you have one.
Well, if you play Soulfire, kill the 3/3. There's a 33% that the outcome is disastrous or insane, because then you might just play Doom Guard, and Doom Guard is what is the percentage of keeping the Soulfire here? Because you discard 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 3, right?
He has loads of other options. I mean, he can still tap, he can play the Defender. It depends how much time he thinks he has.
Wow,
he's going with the Doom Guard.
Perfect outcome.
And that's going to do a chunk of damage.
Now Unit might actually push to use the Brawl this turn, but he's not at a healthy amount of
Of health.
Health. Yeah,
Healthy amount
was
of health.
actually a really bad sentence. But
3-3 survives, that's the middle
okay
option.
outcome, but a weapon comes down, kills the free and makes it an uncomfortable situation for Ness. Now he needs a second Doom Guard. Nope.
See what he can get. He does manage to get stuff.
That is actually a really good draw.
Yeah, he's back in with a chance. He's going to the Librarian's going to draw him an extra card when it dies.
But look at that. Revenge comes handy. Because this clears the board.
Right.
Ness refills with a card from the Librarian that didn't discard anything. So it's a
Bonus
straight
card.
up bonus, yeah.
Grom next turn obviously will be able to take something down. It makes this Void Walker pretty good. Oh, can't play all 3 cards.
That's a really awkward curve.
Just needed to pick up Doomguard there, obviously, to get his Golem into play.
Yeah, you need to play the... oh, he played actually the Golem instead of the Defender Argus.
Right, this means that the Argus has got 2 targets next turn, so one of them may live, which is going to maybe sneak through an extra point of damage.
But I think about this turn, because there were 2 options basically. Either you slam Grommash, kill the 1-3, and your opponent played already the Soulfire, played already Doomguard, so you will be at 6 with your opponent having 3. That's probably too...
This was like gaining
risk.
3 health and still protecting your removal spell. Grommash is a removal spell here.
It's kind of awkward for the mana curve, because next turn, if you use the Grommash, you can use the hero power. So
Right.
basically, you still skip 2, right? But at the same time, you gain the Death Rattle effect, which is like basically add 2 attack to the board, which can mean
Another spell
will,
removes, right.
It will translate into a health. So
So there is how he finishes the game, because the taunts will be incredibly relevant if they come
Yes.
back. And so this is how he finishes the game. Can he just hang on for 1 more turn though, or
I
maybe
think
2
he
more
can,
turns?
because this turn he will not attack with the Torrent because there's no reason to, and that means it will soak up at least 3 HP.
Oh,
Second
how does this
Doomguard.
affect things though?
That's 7 damage to the face, 1 of lethal. He can tap after playing the Doomguard without playing the Flame Imp.
And he can still draw a Direwolf or something like that.
There's a
I'd play
Direwolf
the-
Alpha, and
That is going to be lethal, and Ness stays alive, and now he has the Warrior out of the way. He has a chance against Druid and a mirror match, and from looking like he was going out of the tournament, now he's got a favourable matchup to get to 2-2, and then a potential mirror, and he's still incredibly alive.
yeah, and the Warrior, which has, I think, the best possible matchup against the Zoo from all of his decks,
Yeah.
did lose.
Last chance saloon there for Ness. Like 1 more turn and that was done.
Yeah, I would like to just talk a little bit about the Flame Imp in his hand. I like that he didn't play it because the other out was Peddler,
Yep.
and Peddler required 1 more mana,
Yeah, so he needed the 3.
so he needed the 3. He needed the 3.
Just in case he picks up a Power Overwhelming or Soulfire, those sort of cards.
Or a Boar,
Or a Boar.
because that was the one damage missing.
And his teammate is
Elven
Boar
Archer.
control, so yeah, that would have been fitting.
I mean, how awesome would it be to finish a match with an Elven Archer? Just like,
Yeah, that's just like BM win. That'd be really funny. Just shoot you.
okay, let's see what happens here. You needs to go for an Innervate. I like keeping the Raven Idol because basically it can be a Wild Growth or an Innervate, but this hand is looking awful.
Yeah, it is looking bad. I'm wondering if Ness could be throwing these away and just digging for Flame Imps and digging for the 3-drops, the Imp Gang boss, and also obviously the Councilman, or whether he's just going to go for this hand. He's looking at it as it's an interesting hand, and he's going to keep these 1-drops. Obviously. Okay, so he's all in on turn 2.
Okay. Interesting choice. He starts with the Voidwalker, so why does he start with Voidwalker instead of the Possessed Villager or even with the Markers or Imp? How do you think?
So he's keeping the Imp back in case it gets wrathed or something like that. So
Okay.
you definitely don't want to lose your Imp. It's a way of keeping your hate coming. As for the Voidwalker, it's maybe just a way of protecting the Villager from getting pinged down.
True.
1 Argent Squire in this deck.
1, really?
I think it's 1. I think he played 1 Argent Squire and 1 Abusive Sergeant from memory, but I did only see the decks very, very briefly before we came on, as you noticed with the other game.
Yeah, that's true. Well, still, 3 minions on board already, and it's turn 2 for you need. He is on a back foot. He needs to do something fast. Fandral doesn't help. He doesn't have Living Roots in his hand, nor an Innervate, so there are not a lot of options. Next to him is basically coin out Maya Keeper and probably play a 2-2 with it.
Right, and he's only facing 3 attack, but he will be feeling the pressure because these guys will get buffed.
Yep.
And sooner or later, you'll expect. Well, he's just lost to a Doomguard. He's expecting the Doomguards and the Soulfires to start causing massive problems. And obviously, these guys he has on the board right now will just keep the board until that happens.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for you, Need.
It doesn't, but he does have Fandral into, say, Feral Rage at some point, which is fantastic if you can stick the Fandral. And we can see at the moment he actually could stick a Fandral on the board.
Well, I mean, it will still die. But that's an interesting choice. He opted for the Reliquary Seeker. He can't really make the board full this turn. But it's a viable threat for the next turn, upcoming turn. And if there will be no swipe this turn, and we know there's no swipe.
There is no swipe, and would you swipe that board anyway? I think that's the gamble Ness is taking, that maybe you wouldn't swipe that board.
I think I would actually swipe, because the Flame Imp and 2 1/1s dying it's actually okay setup, I would say.
Sure.
But now look at that. Malkazur Imp or just the Direwolf Alpha can be played to create a 5/5. Which is an incredible snowball effect.
Right, because then you're out of swipe range unless they have a Thanos or something like that, which he does, well, exactly a Thanos, in fact.
And he used already a coin, so it's not possible even next to him, even if he has it.
Right, and also just the effect, I mean, now you can trade into things so efficiently as well as having this 5/5 that...
Yeah. 1 mana
Everything's
5/5,
so
balanced, and it will smash face next turn, at least it looks so far.
That's only balanced if it's in Shaman, right?
Ha! Yes, no overload. Oh, that is such a passive turn. Innovate is getting picked up, but it doesn't change anything.
No, it doesn't mean he can play a Giant next turn, but what's a Giant going to do against this board? Nothing.
Yeah, it's another passive turn when the Giant will just get ignored, because it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, next turn's looking like it has to be Fandral Feral Rage just to
Oh
stay
my
alive.
God.
But this is so much.
This is it. This is 6 damage
Yep.
from the hand. It's more than needed. Ness is taking the second game. It looks like a reverse sweep is possible. 2-0 with the Zoo. Story continues.
And so somehow or other, as we continue that story, we have ended up with the Zoo Mirror being important. No matter how we've got here, yet again we're in that spot.
Yep. I mean, to be honest, it's kind of ridiculous that Ness is getting those Doomguards in those situations, right? Last game, he got the second one. The last turn, he actually had the chance to close out the game. Otherwise...
Yeah, this one was a bit different. This was just like, let's get on with the next game, because he was going to win that game anyway, in fairness.
Yeah,
The one before was Last Chance Saloon, and now it's... Ness has the coin, but he does have a hand that goes well with it. Obviously, this really fast start. Uni's keeping 1-2-2 just to make sure that his turn 3 is likely good as well.
What is very important, he is actually on the play.
Right.
That makes a huge difference. It didn't make a difference in the past because most of the Zoo players wanted to actually have the coin
Right.
to make a better, a better board control play at some point in the game. But now having the advantage of going first is actually more important because you can trade with the Direwolf Alphas and Abusive Strategy with more meaningful minions that don't have death roll effects.
And we can see here that even double Flame Imp isn't that great against the Direwolf. The Direwolf trades in with the Villager, one of the Flame Imps dies, and then Flame Imp is facing a Direwolf which it has to kill. The Villager's still going to be there.
Not looking great still, because you just dealt 6 damage to your face as well.
But at least he has the other 1-drops to follow up and build another board on turn 2. And I think he'll come to the decision that if my opponent doesn't have Direwolf here, double Flame Imp is actually kind of good.
I think
maybe he just plays the 1.
The safest play, I think, is just the Squire into Possessed Villager.
Okay, just take it nice and easy.
Just get 2 minions on the board. Next thing you have a Knife Juggler. So even if your opponent plays, let's say, a Dark Paddler, you have an easy way of trading and maybe even killing an entire board if your opponent will
flips,
trade.
So you get another shot out of the Knife Juggler.
He goes instead for the Flame Imp into a Possessed Villager, so halfway.
So the Villager for possibly the potential of the Knife Juggler. The Flame Imp is to say, have you got the Direwolf or haven't you?
But the problem is, the Direwolf Alpha is actually really a problematic situation for him. Now he needs to trade the 1-1 into the,
well, this is nice play though, because now he can trade the 1-1 into the 2-1, and the Direwolf on its own is just a 2-2.
Yeah, it's a 2-2, but it will buy some value because the 1-1 will remain from Ness on the board. And to be honest, getting any value from any minion on when you can trade and the minion still remains in the zoo mirror is like so valuable. It didn't feel like that in the previous mirror matches between the zoo, but nowadays it's really, really upsetting for one of the players.
Yeah, the game doesn't snowball like it did, but just slowly but surely one of the players...
The grind is real.
Grind is real, man, yeah.
So let's see what were the options for... what is the option for Ness? I don't feel like he has any options. He just needs to drop the 2-1 drops. But the thing is, if you drop the 2-1 drops, then the Flame Imp actually can die to Direwolf Alpha still.
Like, if you play the Juggler and just force that trade and just give up the Juggler as a value resource, then you have more options going into the Defender turn.
Well, he can go for the lucky play,
drop,
right? He can play for the lucky play, go for the Knife Juggler and trade into the Direwolf Alpha and get the hit on the Direwolf.
Yeah, that would be an option that he could have gone for just to... If he feels in that much of a hole, sometimes you do take those sort of chances. But he feels he's okay for now, and rightly so with all these 1-drops in hand.
So Mortal Coil is actually a cool tool here, but at the same time you have an anomaly to play.
Yeah, Mortal Coil seems good because it's going to get him a half-price life tap, basically, at some point in this game. He doesn't have to do it now, but at some point you can always find... With such low health minions, you can always find a place for the Mortal Coil just to draw you a card and be a big board swing.
But what do you think about this situation? You want to trade with the Knife Juggler, right?
Yeah, you can't let it get value. This is, I think, what Ness was thinking when he played it. Is at least it gets rid of the Direwolf, and my Jugglers, if it's getting value, it's probably because I'm winning anyway. So let's just trade with the Direwolf and start again.
Yeah. Okay. Direwolf is getting drawn by Ness. It's not the turn. He wanted to see that.
No.
What he wanted to see is turn 3 Imp Gang Boss, which is the MVP in this matchup, but none of the players did actually draw it, so it's an even field.
Sure, yes. No Imp Gang Boss, no Counselor drawn. Ness will be trying to find a way to get 2 minions to stick here, but just sitting duck, just sitting there doing nothing is just so bad.
You said yesterday that he plays only one Defender Vargas because of the amount of
Right.
matches that you get, and Defender Vargas is actually not a great card in the mirror match, and you can see why. Basically, this mirror is about trading into trading into trading, and
Right.
that means that only one minion might stick to the board, and when you have to play all those low-cost minions on the turn 1 to 2, and they are still trading, you will not have a minion on board or even 2 in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, a 4-mana 2/3 is really, really awful. To the point where people didn't play Tauren for ages, even though it did something when it died.
Yep.
And yeah, like you say, RDU did cut one of those from his lineup.
That's not bad.
Yeah, seems good.
It will not get played this turn, I guess, because it's so insane against Imp Gang Boss, but it wasn't played. So I feel like this is the time when you just play Possess Villager, bank on the Mortal Coil, or maybe not. Maybe
Yeah, you have to think about the Mortal Coil because the Soulfire, whether you want to go with it or not. Just that'll be his, how he reads how the game's going, and he just reads it. If I make this wide board, you're not going to deal with it.
Yeah, I like the Flame Imp more than the Mortal Coil.
Yeah.
And not a Knife Juggler. Doesn't really help. You can go for the Defender of Argus and trade with the Voidwalker, get still a 2/2 on the board, which has to be traded by one of the bigger minions from an opponent, but little he knows.
Sure.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Oops. But like you just said, you don't get much value out of Defender, and that was an opportunity to get something from the card, but now he's going to be in a world of hurt this turn.
This
Draws the
is
1-drop as
insane.
well, and it's the perfect 1-drop to clear the board.
Well, he could have drawn a 2-drop as well, but this is insane. This is like, game-winning turn for you need.
Yeah, and it looks like Ness's great comeback to get it down to this final game is almost certainly going to end in failure. Let's see what he picks up this turn before calling that.
You need what Ness would need basically in this matchup is a Hellfire.
He would need a Hellfire, and even then Unid would probably just hit him in the face with Doomguard.
How much damage is that? 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 2 of lethal.
Right, so we will see him take this carefully. There's no need to stick that all in the face. You're going to win next turn. The only way that Unit has to think now, he knows he's going to win the game. He needs to just make sure that he does enough damage this turn so he still has lethal next turn and uses all the other damage to clear up as much as he can.
Yeah, and now the Defender of Argus is also being drawn, so that's actually a good opportunity to just play it. Very safe turn for Unit.
Yeah.
3-3 will trade with the 2-2, be on board because that's the second knife juggle. You don't really care about what's happening anymore.
Right.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, just making sure he gets enough damage through. And he can actually afford to do this and still have lethal. Yeah, he's got 4, 7, 9. He's got plenty. That's how much
Ness
he's
got wrecked.
And Ness, all the comeback in vain. And Unit, with his Horse Rider still in hand, even in the Zoom era, is going to progress to the semi-finals of DreamHack Winter 2016.
Looks insane. I mean, to be honest, when he was just winning 2-0, I was like, yeah, he has.
Yeah, because he has the Warrior, right?
But now we can see the Doomguard is closing the third game in a row. And that means Unit, as you said, advances to the semifinals. Congrats to him. We'll probably have will we have an interview with him?
Yeah, I imagine so. We try to talk to all of the winners so that way they can get a little bit of screen time and get their thoughts on the match and the upcoming match. I actually really thought the Warrior was going to sweep too. Not surprisingly, Zoo brought it back all the way. And I think overall, it's really important that Unit was able to perform well, because I think the French community in general is very underrated in Hearthstone. I think a lot of people just ignore them when they think about Europe. They think of Eastern Europe. They might even think of Sweden, some of the great players in here in Scandinavia, but they forget that the French community is very strong.
I think that's the reason, because the French community is just keeping away from everyone else,
It could be, but I mean, I think in general it's good to have a representative in the top 4.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And Unit has done exactly that. How are you doing?
Great.
Yeah, fantastic. So give me thoughts on the series. Looks like you started off very well with the Warrior and then able to close it out. A little scary at the end.
Yeah.
Zoom mirrors are a little coin flippy there.
So I knew that the most important game was the Warrior game, the Warrior Mirror. I knew he was going to pick the Cthulhu first. So usually it's like 90% for the Cthulhu and 10 for the Enzers. So I practiced all morning with the Fishu, my teammate, and we came up with a strategy. If he has coin, if he doesn't have coin, because he doesn't have Torisan.
Oh, he doesn't have Torisan.
So I know that if I have the coin, I can bluff that my Sylvanas is dead, and I can steal his Cthulhu.
Oh, wow.
And so win the game.
Okay, so
Nice.
that was the turn when we actually were kind of confused, because when you played in Zoff, right?
Yeah.
Did you have the weapon still an available attack to attack with the weapon?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Yeah, we felt there was one
maybe.
minion you could actually miss the Sylvanas because you had the portal made the...
I think I had like a 2-2 and a weapon, yeah. So maybe I could kill the creature. So I was hoping that the 4-6 wouldn't survive the brawl. It was the main thing. And when I lost it, I was like, oh no, so I cannot steal it 100%, so I have to luck. Because when you play the matchup normally, I lose every time. So I have to cheese him somehow.
Well done.
Okay. Well done. That was the strategy that we were thinking about. If he has Doomcaller, you can't play the Sylvanas. But he played it, and I'm like, okay, maybe he doesn't play the Doomcaller. Turns out he had, but you had a plan for that, so well played.
So if he doesn't have coin, he cannot bring back 2 Cthuns. So I still lose the game if he only has 1 Cthulhu to bring back. So yeah, I had to somehow steal it.
Yeah, that's really impressive then. It's something that people don't really see, and sometimes us as commentators, we can't get in the head, so it's really interesting to hear that perspective.
I was hoping he thought I was a bad player when I played Sylvanas. Don't shield slam it, please.
There's no bad players in this top
maybe
8.
he forgot that I had the coin because I could shield slam it.
Yeah, no, that's huge. If you're able to get inside your opponent's head there too. Any thoughts on your next match that might happen on the round of 4?
I think I'm playing against Super JJ or his opponent. I don't remember the nickname. I'm gonna practice.
It's like Wagyus, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't see the decklist yet. I was mainly focused against Ness. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, top 4, congratulations.
Thank you.
And a big shout out, of course, to the French community, as they are
out.
always supporting their members as much as they can, and glad to be able to get them some camera time. For now, we are going to prepare for the second round of 8 match for today. It is Wagyus versus Super JJ, so stay tuned. More action here at the Hearthstone Grand Prix continues right after this.